Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is a game that sent shockwaves through the FPS genre when it was released way back in 2007. The game is so beloved that despite it being fully remastered in 2016, countless people still prefer to play the original even to this very day and on all platforms. Its popularity is undeniable, and if you missed out on experiencing this game in its prime, it's still lively enough for you to be able to today, at least to some degree. All of this does beg the question, however, why is Call of Duty 4 so legendary? Today, I'm going to be showing you why. So, let's grab our M16s, snap some dogs' necks, and figure out
what the hell kind of name is Soap, eh?
Right into this. Call of Duty 4 was the first Call of Duty game set in the modern era of the time. A first for the franchise that previously stuck to World War II games. It's a game that features a campaign, a multiplayer, and a massive modding scene. So first up, let's get right into the campaign. The campaign was a story that took you back and forth between a Special Ops British SAS soldier and a Force Recon US Marine, letting you experience the full scope of the modern warfare at the time, with mission variety. Most of the game follows Soap McTavish, a brand new recruit to the British SAS under Captain John Price.
And the bad news?
We've got a new guy joining us today, fresh out of selection. His name's Soap.
As he learns the ropes and fights against the Russian ultranationalists who, under Imran Zakhaev, sought to restore the Soviet Union and were orchestrating worldwide attacks and partnering with many terrorist organizations to attempt to do so by force. These missions usually consisted of stealth gameplay and undercover mission, and from the perspective of Captain Price in a flashback mission, one of the most iconic stealthy sniper missions of all time, all gillied up.
50,000 people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town.
In this mission, Price, under Captain Macmillan, sneak through a town in Pripyat near Chernobyl, carefully coordinating takedowns of targets
Good night. Move.
and blending in with the environment to let enemies pass by in some iconic scenes.
Easy, lads. There's too many of them. Let them go. Keep a low profile and hold your fire.
It eventually leads to an assassination attempt on Imran Zakhaev himself with a long-distance sniper shot. This results in Price and Macmillan needing to then quickly escape to an incoming exfil chopper after taking the shot, which only blew off Zakhaev's arm instead of killing him. Macmillan gets injured during the escape, however, so you as Price must carry him to the exfil point,
My leg's all messed up. I can't move.
where you then can set up traps and defenses to defend the area from enemies until exfil arrives. What further makes this mission unique is that it was one of the first ever non-linear missions, mostly allowing you to take the mission how you'd like, with plenty of space to move around. Another iconic mission under this side of the story involves piloting an AC-130 gunship to cover Soap, Price, and the squad as they advance through an enemy-controlled village. This would be the first ever AC-130 mission in Call of Duty, and even to this day, the AC-130 footage from COD 4 can be seen as eerily realistic.
Whoa! Direct hit. Yeah, good kill. I see lots of little pieces down there.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the story, it follows Sergeant Paul Jackson under Lieutenant Vasquez of the Force Recon US Marines fighting through a Middle Eastern country with the goal of capturing a terrorist group leader named Khalid al-Assad.
We're gonna secure the perimeter and grab al-Assad. Hoorah! Lock and load.
These missions are usually more linear with direct combat and firefights, and with the might of the US military. In one of the most iconic missions of all time, a group of SEALs are sent to raid Al-Assad's palace after word of nuclear devices being in the city is spread. And meanwhile, your squad is sent to rescue a downed helicopter pilot by fighting through the city and extracting her. Upon extraction, however, it seems something went wrong on the raid of Al-Assad's palace, and a nuclear device was detonated.
Yes, teams are on site and attempting to disarm. I repeat.
Everyone, hang on!
Wiping out most of the city and killing over 40,000 US servicemen, including our very own playable character in a very iconic scene of the nuclear fallout. The game then follows Soap once more under Captain Price as they now begin hunting Khalid al-Assad. Your squad eventually manages to capture and kill al-Assad, but not before learning that Zakhaev was in contact with him.
Every ultra-nationalist psycho in Zakhaev's pocket is about to show up on our doorstep, coming to claim Al-Assad.
Or what's left of him.
After an epic setup and holdout style mission, our British SAS squad finally manages to exfil safely and alive. Shortly after, we then form a joint operation with some familiar US Marines from earlier on in the game. And they decide the best way to get to Zakhaev is to go after his son.
Well, we got that bastard.
Still, he's not the one responsible for killing your Marines. Sorry, mate.
Imran Zakhaev, huh? Man's a ghost. Intel says he's gone underground.
Well, I got a plan to find him.
I'm listening. Daddy's boy.
Zakhaev's son, commander of the ultra-nationalist forces in the field.
And this is where a brief undercover section of the game begins, before an all-out brawl and firefight, where you then have to pursue Zakhaev's son. Unfortunately, however, before finally catching him, he commits suicide by shooting himself in the head rather than be captured.
No!
Zakhaev eventually launches a plan to launch intercontinental ballistic missiles to the US East Coast, which would result in 41 million casualties.
Our so-called leaders prostituted us to the West, destroyed our culture, our economies, our honor. Our blood has been spilled on our soil. My blood on their hands. They are the invaders. All US and British forces will leave Russia immediately or suffer the consequences.
It's quite simple. Either we retake the launch facility or we won't recognize the world tomorrow.
This final mission follows our squad one last time as we stop these missiles and escape in a crazy car chase. Eventually, after a bridge is destroyed, our squad is forced to hold out on it from enemy forces until exfil can arrive. The resulting battle leaves most of your squad killed in action in somewhat slow motion and emotional scenes, while Zakhaev himself is fastly approaching to finish the rest of your squad off. Stunned and knocked over, you look towards Captain Price on the ground struggling to hold his wounds, who manages to throw you his remaining 1911 pistol, where you can now save yourself by executing Zakhaev and his two men in an epic slow-motion playable scene. The result is the day is seemingly saved, but as you look back towards Captain Price, he appears to be dead as the newly arrived medics can't seem to resuscitate him. You then fall unconscious as you're exfilled out, and as news reports finish off the story and aftermath with cover-ups for the public.
Although world leaders were quick to denounce the action, Russian officials maintained that the missile tests fell well within established UN protocols. No comment was received from the ultra-nationalist party, where rumors of a possible leadership struggle have just begun to surface.
It's an iconic ending for sure, with all the loose ends seemingly all wrapped up. It's a simple, straightforward story that allowed for the sense of realism while still giving some epic, over-the-top moments. It allowed you to play as a normal infantry soldier and as a covert special ops one. The writing was proper fine. It had setups, payoffs, and a great conclusion, especially compared to today's low quality in entertainment writing. Replayability was at the max, especially with time trials, the iconic Kill House training course to get best scores, and the extra bonus mission involving an intense action-packed hostage rescue on a plane.
We're going deep, and we're going hard.
Surely you can't be serious.
I'm serious, and don't call me Shirley.
That was often replayed for best speedruns as well, even by those who normally aren't into speedrunning. The good story, the passion, the bonuses, and more make Call of Duty 4's campaign one of the best and most memorable of all time. At the time, Call of Duty was always a game with campaign as the focus and multiplayer being the extra side mode. But with Call of Duty 4, multiplayer really started gaining popularity. The release of this multiplayer would go on to help shape the entire genre of FPS as we know it for the entire industry alongside Halo 3. Not only was this the first Call of Duty multiplayer set in the modern era, but it also brought about new features that are still around even to this day in newer titles. The modern era brought in a new feel with the weapons and equipment, but also the maps and locations being played on felt more unique to the previous games only being set in the World War II era. The maps were designed so well that many are still remastered in newer games even to this day, and even multiple times. The maps had such good variety, with some small maps, some bigger maps, and a lot of medium-sized maps. It could be played slow and tactical with its competitive one-life modes like the iconic Search and Destroy, or arcadey and fast-paced in respawn modes with variety amongst them all. Progression was a huge focus, with ranking up to earn more unlocks, using weapons to unlock new attachments, completing challenges for XP, and earning camo challenges all being mainstay features. The gameplay of maps in COD 4 offered far more freedom than maps generally do these days, with secret spots, jumps, and places people could get to that most people were actually unaware of back then, causing for fun times and expanded possibilities for stealth and gameplay overall. I couldn't even tell you how many hours me and my friends wasted in old school mode online, or simply even in private matches messing around with rocket jumps, glitch spots, and trying to get outside the map and explore, because it was usually possible and relatively easy to do on every single map. And it was always awesome to be able to do them in public matches. This game was also the first ever Call of Duty game to feature kill streaks, something Call of Duty is very much known for to this very day. There was only 3 of them in COD 4, but they shook up the gameplay quite a lot. The multiplayer of COD 4 also introduced a multiplayer ranking system based on earning XP. This would be the first ever Call of Duty multiplayer to have proper ranking and progression with even the classic Prestige mode. And it's a progression system that would go on and still be used to this very day in Call of Duty, excluding the Prestige mode, which has since been modified to seasonal prestiges, but many out there, including myself, still far prefer this original classic version. Another first for the Call of Duty multiplayers in COD 4 is the perk system, which was first introduced here, which would allow players to have special abilities to further customize their character to their own playstyle for every class you create. It was very basic back then, but the perks system is still used and adapted to this very day, but in COD 4, it was very simple, but had a lot of variety, with many options to choose from in the 3 different tiers of perks. The iconic factions in the multiplayer also helped with immersion and overall enjoyment, with iconic announcers, military outfits, and memorable moments. It was a far more simple time when COD was fun and took itself seriously, without prioritizing milking players for $20 player skins based off relevant pop culture characters.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Skill-based matchmaking wasn't even a topic or discussed back then as it is in newer games, because it probably wasn't even there at all, and it actually allowed for fun to be had with much match variety for all players. Overall, the multiplayer was played just for the fun of it, and not just for the sake of progression or some algorithm, as many newer CODs have been in recent years. The simple but addicting gameplay with all these features as a bonus made the multiplayer very enjoyable, memorable, and absolutely legendary. The story stops there for most players and console players, but a subcategory in COD 4 rose to some popularity throughout the years with a once massive modding scene on PC. Modding on COD 4 still goes on to this very day. Not only is there custom maps and game modes thanks to Radiant and map editors being available for COD 4, but there's even other tools allowing for graphical and lighting mods, changing the look and feel of the game entirely, not to mention there's even people creating their own custom campaigns to play through with new missions, characters, voice lines, and even cutscenes. Some of the most iconic multiplayer mods I'm familiar with include the likes of the COD 4 paintball mod, transforming the game into paintball arenas. There's death runs where you have obstacle courses and traps to beat, and even surfing, similar to the likes of CS surfing, where you can zoom around as if surfing on ramps and bouncing off objects to reach the end of any given course. And thanks to mods, you can even play classic World War II Call of Duties within COD 4 itself, which is a nice little reskin. And hey, you want to play some zombies? Well, there's a fully fleshed out zombies mode with purchasable items and upgrades within some different zombie mods. And lastly, there's even entirely new experiences with the Aliens mod or the Star Wars mod, for example, which entirely change the game to be within those settings with those weaponry, factions, characters, and lore. For me, originally experiencing COD 4 on console, I wasn't even aware of the COD 4 modding scene personally until at least a few years ago, and I was blown away with how expansive it actually is. Honestly, even without all the mods, the PC experience of COD 4 multiplayer can be drastically different from the console version, and that could be even simply due to the ability to have up to 64 player lobbies, which is insane. If you got to experience Call of Duty 4 in its prime, you're well aware with how great of a classic title that this is. You'd have so many fond memories of it, and may even still return to play it in the modern day. For those that have yet to experience the game, it's still well worth checking out, even more so on PC, which is always somewhat lively, as the console counterparts may have somewhat less player counts and dead game modes. But if you'd like to see my checkup on COD 4 multiplayer on the PS3 that I did recently, you can click in the top card up above right now to sort of get an idea for that. All in all, from its iconic campaign to its classic revolutionary multiplayer, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare manages to be such a good game that it is fondly remembered and still played even nearly 17 years later. With everything the game offers, and everything the players have made of it, Call of Duty 4 remains forever absolutely legendary. Well guys, that was my short overview and review of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. This was my first time ever doing a video like this, and if you'd like to see more from me doing some of my favorite games in the future, just let me know in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button as well, and let me know something you like or hate about Call of Duty 4 in the comments down below as well. But with all that said, thank you all for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.